Pasta has long been seen as the ultimate comfort food, a warm hug on a plate. But experts are now whispering a dark secret. Your favourite brands are quietly hurting you. They're filled with things that mess with your body day after day. Tonight, we pull back the lid on the 8 worst offenders, revealing what's really in your dinner. So, let's be real for a second. Pasta isn't automatically the bad guy. In fact, the simple, plain stuff can actually be okay. We're talking about whole grain pasta that can give you a solid dose of fibre and protein. According to experts, it can be a perfectly fine part of your diet since it's usually low in both salt and fat. But here's the twist. The kind of pasta that fills up most of the grocery store aisle. That's a completely different story. Most of what's out there is highly processed and loaded with simple carbs. And that's where the real trouble begins. It's not just about gaining weight. Experts from top institutions like Harvard have shown that eating too much of this stuff can send your blood sugar on a wild roller coaster. This is the hidden danger. The difference between a decent meal and a box that's secretly working against your health really comes down to the brand you choose. So today, we're going to name names and show you exactly which ones to leave on the shelf for good. All right, let's pull back the curtain. The reason those classic white pastas are a problem comes down to one simple, destructive process: refining. Think of a whole grain of wheat. It has 3 parts. There's the outer shell, called the bran, which is packed with fiber. Then there's the germ, a little core full of B vitamins and healthy fats. And finally, there's the endosperm, which is mostly just starch.
On the Health Watch, 7 people have now died as part of a nationwide listeria outbreak. It's been linked to a line of ready-to-eat pasta meals. Officials say 27 people have gotten sick across the U.S. This pasta was sold under multiple brand names at grocery stores, including Walmart, Kroger, and Trader Joe's. If you have ready-made pasta in your fridge or your freezer, check if it matches any of these recalled products. You can find all the information on them on both the FDA and the CDC website.
To make that familiar white pasta, manufacturers strip away the bran and the germ completely. They throw out almost all the good stuff, all that fiber, all those vitamins, and important minerals like iron and magnesium. Gone. What you're left with is just the starchy endosperm ground into flour. It's basically a nutritional ghost of what it used to be. Now, you might see the word enriched on the box. Don't let that fool you. This just means they artificially add back a few synthetic vitamins after stripping out a dozen other natural nutrients. It's like taking $1 from you, giving you a nickel back, and calling it a gift. The most important thing, the fiber, is still missing. So which brands are we talking about? It's the ones you see everywhere. The classic blue box from Barilla. The standard pasta from De Cecco. Most of what you'll find from Ronzoni and Cremette. And yes, pretty much every generic store brand, from Walmart's Great Value to Kroger's private label.
This is the biggest pasta factory in the world. The recipe for dry pasta is simple. It only takes durum wheat, semolina flour, and water to make dough. Barilla produces 1,400 tons of pasta each day at its flagship plant in Parma, Italy. Each line produces about 10,000 pounds of pasta per hour. Barilla then takes the dough and turns it into 103 different shapes, including long strands of spaghetti and bow ties of farfalle.
If it's pale white and not explicitly labeled whole wheat or whole grain, it's been through this stripping process. Without that fiber to slow things down, your body digests these pastas incredibly fast. The carbs hit your system like a tidal wave of sugar, causing that spike and the inevitable crash that leaves you feeling tired and hungry again an hour later. These boxes aren't just empty calories, they're actively working against your body's natural rhythm. But believe it or not, simply being stripped of nutrients isn't even the worst offense you'll find in the pasta aisle. Some brands go a step further, adding ingredients you'd never expect. So, you might think manufacturers would feel a little guilty about selling you a product that's been stripped of all its goodness. And you'd be right. Their solution? A clever marketing trick that sounds healthy but is anything but. It's the word you see plastered on almost every box of white pasta. Enriched. It sounds great, doesn't it? Like they've made it better. But here's what it really means. After they strip out all the natural vitamins and minerals, they try to patch the holes by spraying on a few cheap, synthetic, lab-made vitamins. Think of it like this. They take a real, whole apple, peel it, core it, throw away everything but the sugary pulp, and then spray it with a bit of artificial vitamin C powder and call it enriched. You're not getting the original nutrients back, you're getting a cheap imitation, and they conveniently leave out the most important part they removed, the fiber. Without fiber, that pasta is just a pile of rapidly digesting carbs. According to researchers at Harvard, this is a huge problem. When you eat it, your body doesn't have to work to break it down. The carbs hit your bloodstream all at once, causing a massive blood sugar spike.
In recent years, the health risks have become clearer. Some PFAS chemicals have been linked to serious illnesses, including cancer. Sweets, pasta, croissants, whole grain and white bread and flour, often at high levels. PFAS are industrial chemicals used since the 1950s. They can take hundreds, even thousands of years to break down. Campaigners are now urging governments to ban all PFAS-based pesticides and other major sources of TFA.
This is the real danger that the enriched label is hiding. It does absolutely nothing to fix the main problem with refined pasta. So which brands are leaning heavily on this myth? Let's add a couple more to our list. Look out for brands like Muller's, which proudly calls its product an enriched macaroni product. The same goes for Skinner Pasta and American Beauty. They're all using this enrichment process to put a health halo on what is essentially a nutritionally empty food. They're banking on you not knowing the difference. But this is just the first layer of deception. Some brands take it even further, trying to convince you their pasta is a health food by adding a pinch of something that sounds good, but is really just for show.
More cases and deaths have been linked to a listeria outbreak in prepared pasta meals sold at major retailers.
These are pre-cooked meals. They're just warmed up. And therefore, that warming up is not sufficient to kill all of the listeria.
A warning from the nation's top health agencies. Check your refrigerator and freezer for a number of different pasta meals. They may be contaminated with listeria. California-based Nate's Fine Foods, which recalled more than 200,000 pounds of it in September. Symptoms of listeria usually start 1 to 4 weeks after eating contaminated food, but can start as early as the same day or as late as 10 weeks. All have been recalled from stores including Walmart, Safeway, and Kroger's, though most had Best Buy dates that have already passed.
Now, let's talk about the biggest health halo in the entire grocery store: the gluten-free label. When people see those two words, they instantly think it's the healthier option. It feels like a smart, clean choice. But for many pasta brands, it's just another way to trick you. Here's the thing. When you take wheat out of pasta, you have to replace it with something else to give it that pasta texture. And what do companies usually reach for? A blend of highly refined starches, most often corn and rice flour. And this is where the trap is sprung. These flours are often just as nutritionally empty as the refined wheat they're replacing. They have very little fiber, which means your body digests them incredibly fast.
Barilla started as a small bake shop in the center of Parma more than 140 years ago. Today, the company is privately owned by fourth-generation Barilla brothers, Guido, Luca, and Paolo.
The turning point came when Pietro Barilla traveled to the US after the Second World War, and he saw the packaging of food.
While ownership has stayed the same for decades, much has changed since 1877. Especially in the way pasta is sold today.
And so he came back. He was very much in touch with artists and designers, and together with the artists, they designed the blue box, which is now famous all over the world.
Sound familiar? It's the exact same problem we saw with the enriched white pastas. You're still getting a huge, rapid spike in your blood sugar. You've basically just traded one problem for another, but now you're paying a premium for it. Let's name some names. Take a look at Barilla's gluten-free pasta. The main ingredients: corn and rice flour. It's the same story with Ronzoni's gluten-free pasta, which uses a mix of 4 different grains, including white rice and corn. To get these non-wheat flours to hold together, companies also often have to add in extra binders and gums, making the final product even more processed. So, unless you have a genuine medical reason to avoid gluten, like celiac disease, these pastas aren't doing your health any favors. They're simply leaning on a trendy buzzword to sell you a product with the same fundamental flaws. But the clever marketing doesn't stop there. Some brands have found a way to make you think you're eating your veggies when you're actually getting something else entirely. But tricking you with veggie powders is nothing compared to what happens when you grab a box of flavoured or instant pasta. This is where things go from bad to worse. See, plain pasta on its own isn't the enemy. It's actually pretty simple. It's filling, and it's naturally low in salt and fat. The problem is what companies add to it to create those complete meals in a box.
We dry the pasta for up to 12 hours in this plant, depending on the recipe, depending on the format.
The Barilla factory operates 24 hours, 7 days a week.
We produce more than 320,000 tons of pasta per year.
And this is what gives the boxed yellow carbs a longer shelf life than most other products.
We press the pasta throughout a die, which is a metal plate with holes shaped in the way to obtain the format of pasta that we want to pack. In order to obtain a shelf-stable, dry, and ready-to-be-eaten pasta.
This is where we find the real chemical cocktails. Take a look at something like pastaroni or Kraft macaroni and cheese. You're not just getting pasta, you're also getting a little foil packet of powder. And that powder is a masterpiece of food science designed to make you eat more. It's loaded with staggering amounts of sodium. We're talking a huge chunk of your daily limit in one small bowl. But it's the other stuff that's really concerning. The ingredient lists on these products are a mile long. You'll find things like maltodextrin, which is a highly processed filler, and a whole host of flavor enhancers like disodium guanylate and disodium inosinate.
6 people are reported dead, nearly 30 more are sick right now due to a deadly listeria outbreak. And right now it's impacting nearly half of the country. We have them listed for you on your screen there. They include California, Washington State, Texas, and Florida. The outbreak is tied to prepared pasta meals sold at major grocery chains like Kroger, Walmart, and Trader Joe's, spanning 18 states. Now, the FDA and the CDC are working to track down the source of the outbreak right now. In the meantime, consumers, of course, advised to check their fridges at home and to throw out any items listed under that recall.
These are chemicals specifically designed to make processed foods taste intensely savory, far beyond what real food tastes like. They're also often packed with anti-caking agents and artificial colors to get that perfect texture and bright, unnatural glow. So what happens when you eat this? First, you have the refined pasta, which we already know sends your blood sugar soaring. Then you add this chemical-laden powder on top. You're getting a double whammy of a massive carb load with almost zero fiber, plus a cocktail of artificial additives. These products are the ultimate form of processed food. They take a perfectly fine ingredient, pasta, and turn it into a science experiment that offers convenience at the cost of your health.
Barilla consumers around the world buy more spaghetti than any other blue box variety. And that's what makes it the most produced shape in the factory. Barilla is available in more than 100 countries, including Brazil, Singapore, and Japan.
I think that spaghetti, in terms of long-cut pasta, is very well known all around the world, because in China you have noodles, in Italy spaghetti, of course, but it's not that far.
Italy was traditionally the biggest pasta market for Barilla, until the US recently took over the top spot.
We've seen definitely a shift towards more plant-based diets, because it's now universally recognized that they are the best one for the health of people and of the planet. And so we are seeing globally an increase in pasta sales.
These aren't just meals, they're carefully engineered products, and they are, without question, some of the worst things you can find in the pasta aisle. We began this journey by peeling back the lid, exposing the secret harms hiding in your everyday comfort food. From empty carbs dressed up as healthy to chemical cocktails in instant meals, it's clear the pasta aisle can be a minefield, but knowing is half the battle. So how do you choose wisely? The good news is finding better pasta isn't hard. Look for whole grain first. That means more fiber and protein for your body. Always check the label for low salt and fat content. And if it's got added vitamins, even better. These simple checks help you pick pasta that actually supports your health, not sabotages it. We pulled back the lid tonight, showing you what's really in your dinner. But the fight to uncover hidden truths about our food never ends. To keep getting the inside scoop, to stay ahead of the secrets the food industry doesn't want you to know. Make sure you're subscribed. Join us and let's keep exposing what's secretly hurting your health.